Let's start with a topic called eye accessing cues. Historically speaking, how did eye accessing cues as a topic come up? Remember, going back to the history, what was this team of people who created the field of NLP, what were they doing? They were seeking out people who were producing excellent results, and they were studying them, and through that study, they were learning how to replicate those results. And that team of people was becoming more and more curious about what else is there to study. And as a part of that, Robert Dilts, who was one of those people in the team, went up to John Grinder and he asked John, we've studied so many things, what else is there that we can study? And John, you have to remember, John Grinder is a professor. And in his professorial style, he told Robert, well, Robert, notice something that's happening around you, which we have not studied before, and pick that up for studying. Technically correct answer, but didn't really give Robert a clue as to what to study, what specifically to study. So Robert went like this, and he says, what do you mean? Please explain. So John said, like that. He said, like what? Like that, what you just did. And Robert said, what did I do? I didn't do anything, I'm just standing here. No, you did something. What did I do? You moved your eyes. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And after a couple of such iterations, Robert realized that his eyes had gone down like this. And there began the journey to explore what do these eye movements indicate. So they put in a process of study. They invited a lot of people, and when somebody's eyes moved, they would ask them, okay, why did you move your eyes? So that whole why, what happened, what did you do, a rigorous process of study. And the outcome of that has resulted in explaining what these eye accessing cues interpret. In recent times, as recent as last month or so, I came across a link to an article on the internet posted by Richard Bolstad. He is again one of the big names in the community of NLP. He is on my Facebook timeline, and he had posted that link. And I shared that on my Facebook timeline. This link talks of a research which has been conducted by neuroscientists, which go back and validate that when you move your eyes move because you are accessing certain parts of your memory. It correlates with the findings of the NLP team. NLP team came to this conclusion through a process of observation in times as early as the 1970s. Neuroscientists are proving it through neuroimaging today. And I think that is a tight slap in the face of those critics who say that NLP is not backed by science. It's a tight slap. Everybody in the NLP community is very happy with this finding. So let me just share with you what those findings were, when somebody's eyes move, what they indicate. I'll share that with you. Second thing I'll do is that I will explain to you exceptions that happen in real life. And third thing that I'll explain to you is what is it in observation you will find really happening with eye movements. So we'll do all that. Let's say this is the face of a person you're looking at, and my artistic talent.
So is that one too? Is that
whatever you want to make it. And I don't have brown, my eyes are brown. I don't have brown whiteboard, so I'll use blue. Here goes. This is the face of a person you're looking at. Your coaching clients, not your face, someone else's face. If the eyes of this person goes upward to their left, my left, upwards to the left, and usually you'll find both eyes go together.
Yeah.
You won't find one eye going here, one eye going there. You won't.
The clarity you want.
So even though the arrow is made over here as for one eye, the interpretation of my drawing is that both eyes are going there. This indicates that someone is accessing, that person is accessing a past visual memory, a past visual recall. We are. If the eyes are going up to their right, my right, up, right, this indicates that the person is accessing a visual imagination, which means they are constructing a new visual image, something that they have not seen before. For example, seeing Donald Trump with pink hair. You obviously not seen him with orange hair, but you've not seen him. So you'll have to create an imagination of seeing him in pink hair. That would be called visual construct VC.
So this one is basically that deals with imagination. Like,
Not deals with. There's no dealing over here.
I mean, it is imagining.
The wordings are very specific. Eyes have gone here means I am accessing a past visual image, something that I have seen before. Eyes have gone here means I am creating a visual imagination. And lateral. Lateral to the left. This way, look at me. Lateral to the left. This is a past sound which was heard before. Auditory recall. And then lateral to the right, this way, is auditory imagination, auditory construct, AC. Down and right is feelings, kinesthetic, K. Down and left is self-talk, logic, data analysis, sorting, computation, information, auditory digital.
That K, the kinesthetic one, is it a construct or a recall?
The kinesthetic system is such that even if you construct, you experience it in this moment. You may have remembered before, if it has happened before, you remember it, you feel it now. You imagine it happening in the future, you feel it now. So K is K, yes. K is pure K because you feel it now, in this moment.
Yeah, either we recall or construct, the actual experience
Is in this moment. That's why you will also notice that any physical activity gets you to be in the present moment. Kinesthetic is fair and squarely anchored in the present moment. Auditory digital, let me recap. Auditory digital refers to your self-talk, your inner chatter, internal dialogue. That's auditory digital is the name given to that part of your thinking process where you process data, information, sort it, what if analysis, logic, calculation, addition, subtraction, division, all putting two and two together, all of these things has been given the name as auditory digital. Any kind of question that you ask yourself, what will happen if I do this, what will happen if I do that, these are examples of logical processing which becomes your internal chatter, internal dialogue, also known as self-talk. Self-talk is a very, very important and crucial internal representation. Why? Because all of us have self-talk. Self-talk sometimes helps you because that's the cognitive and conscious control you have over your mind. That's the part of your thinking process which guides you in terms of evaluating what to do, what not to do, etc., etc. That's what is known as the human cognitive abilities. But self-talk is also detrimental because sometimes it takes a life of its own. When it takes a life of its own, the self-talk, the internal chatter becomes too much for people. And when that becomes too much, they are constantly debating with themselves, they find themselves at conflict with themselves, they will find that they become immobile. Analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis happens because in their own mind they are just going over that whole data over and over and over and over again, and they just can't get out of it. So self-talk can also become detrimental. One of the ways to look at any coaching conversation is to recognize if your client is engaging in too much of self-talk, and then teaching their thinking process to switch from self-talk mode to visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So that's also one more key indicator that you might want to help someone by switching them from one rep system to another.
There's one more thing that happens in our mind, like we make a decision and we change it hundreds of times. This is what that comes.
It's happening in the auditory digital.
Okay.
We discussed this in greater detail during the Master Practitioner. During the Master Practitioner, we also talk about decision strategies, and this whole thing of first you took a decision and then you're changing it over and over again, or you're unhappy with it, also referred to as buyer's remorse, regretting a decision after it was taken. All of that has structural elements to it, and there are simple structural steps to take care to fix that thing. In other words, you can teach someone a new way of thinking, a new way of taking a decision, which will clear all this once and for all. So we cover that at Master Practitioner level. This is what the team who was studying to create the field of NLP found out. This is the general observation. The textbooks of NLP also talk about an exception, saying that in a very small percentage of people, this entire information is laterally reversed. So for some, as per the textbooks, some people will have the visual recall here on the right, auditory recall on the right, self-talk on the right, visual construct on the left, auditory construct on the left, and kinesthetic on the left. In my experience of more than 10 plus years in the field of NLP, I have not come across a single person where it is laterally reversed. But the textbooks do document it. The textbooks also confirm, not confirm, but they do document that this has nothing to do with whether you are right-handed or left-handed. In my experience, I found this to bear out. Always 100% in the last 10 plus years. Having said that, there are peculiarities.